Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Ronnie. This channel will help you to learn more new words, vocabulary through the story. And our story today's was the name The Tale of Peter Rabbit. Let's get started. Once upon a time, there were 4 little rabbits, and their names were Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter. They lived with their mother in a sandbank underneath the root of a very big fir tree. Now, my dears, says the old Mrs. Rabbit one morning, you may go into the fields or down the lane. So, what does the lane mean? The lane means a narrow road in the countryside or in a town. But don't go into Mr. McGregor's garden. Your father had an accident there. He was put in a pie by Mrs. McGregor. Now, run along and don't get into mischief. What is mischief? Mischief means behavior, especially a child's, that is slightly bad but not intended to cause serious harms or damage. I'm going out. Then old Mrs. Rabbit took a basket and her umbrella to the baker's. She bought a loaf of brown bread and 5 currant firm buns. Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontails, who were good little bunnies, went down the lane to gather blackberries. What are blackberries? Blackberries is the very small dark purple fruit that grows wild in Europe and usually cooked before being eaten. But Peter, who was very naughty. What does naughty mean? Naughties mean very stubborn. When the children are naughty, or their behavior is naughty, they behave very badly or do not do what they are told to do. Ran straight away to McGregor's garden and squeezed under the gate. First, he ate some lettuce and some French beans, and then he ate some radishes. And then, feeling rather sick, he went to look for some parsley. What is parsley? Parsley is a type of herb that curly or flat leaves used to add flavor to food or also make it look more attractive. But around the ends of the cucumber frame, whom should be meat but McGregor. Mr. McGregor was on his hands and knees planting out young cabbages, but he jumped up and ran after Peter, waving a rake and calling out, "Stop, thief!" Peter was most deadly frightened. He rushed all over the gardens, for he had gotten the way back to the gate. He lost one of his shoes among the cabbages, and the other shoes amongst the potatoes. After losing them, he ran down 4 legs and went faster, so that I think he might have got away altogether if he has not unfortunately run into a gooseberry net. What a gooseberry! Gooseberry is the very small and green fruit covered with short hairs. Gooseberries grow on bushes and have a sour taste. And got caught by the large buttons on his jacket. It was a blue jacket with the brass buttons, quite new. Peter gave himself up for lost a shabby tears. But his sobs were overheard by some friendly sparrows, who flew to him in great excitement and implored him to exert himself. Mr. McGregor came up with a sieve which he intended to pop upon the top of Peter, but Peter wiggled up just in time, leaving the jacket behind him, and rushed into the tool shed and jumped into a cayenne It would have been a beautiful thing to hide in if it had not had so much water in. McGregor was quite sure that Peter was somewhere in the tool shed, perhaps hidden underneath a flower pot. He began to turn them over carefully, looking under each. Presently, Peter sneezed. Curdy's skull, Mr. McGregor was after him in no time, and tried to put his foot upon Peter, who jumped out of the window, upsetting 3 plants. The window was too small for Mr. McGregor, and he was tired of running after Peter. He went back to his work. Peter sat down to rest. He was out of breath and trembling with fright. What is trembling? Trembling means shaking slightly in the way that you cannot control yourself. For example, because you are frightened, you're so angry, or you're so excited, or because of illness. In this case, Peter is very frightened and scary. He had not the least idea which way to go. Also, he was very damped with sitting in that can. After a time, he began to wander about, going lippity, not very fast, and looking all around. He found a door in a wall, but it was locked, and there was no room for a fat little rabbit to squeeze underneath. And an old mouse was running in and out over the stone doorstep, carrying peas and beans to her family in a wood. Peter asked her the way to the gate, but she had such a large pea in her mouth that she could not answer. She only shook her head at him. Peter began to cry. Then he tried to find his way straight across the garden, but he became more and more puzzled. Presently, he came to the pond where McGregor filled his water cans. A white cat was staring at some goldfish. She sat very, very still, but now then the tip of the tail twisted as if it were alive. Peter thought it best to go away without speaking to her. He had heard about cats from his cousin, little Benjamin Bunny. He went back towards the tool shed, but suddenly, quite close to him, he heard a noise of a hole. Scratched, scratch, scratched, scratch. Peter scuttered underneath the bushes, but presently, as nothing happened, he came out and climbed upon a wheelbarrow. What a wheelbarrow? A wheelbarrow means a large open container for moving things and with a wheel in front and two handles at the back, used especially in the garden, and peeped over. The first thing he saw was Mr. McGregor hoeing onions. His back was turned toward Peter, and beyond him was the gate. Peter got drawn down very quietly off the wheelbarrow and started running as fast as he could go along the street wall behind some black currant bushes. What a black currant? A black currant, as a kind of fruit, is very sweet. McGregor caught sight of him at the corner, but Peter did not care. He slipped underneath the gate and was safe at last in the wood outside the garden. Mr. McGregor hung up a little jacket and the shoes of the scarecrow to frighten the blackbirds. Peter never stopped running or looked behind him till he got home to the big fir tree. He was so tired that he flopped down upon the knife-soft sand on the floor at the rabbit hole and shut his eyes. His mother was busy cooking. She wondered what he had done with his clothes. It was the second little jacket and a pair of shoes that Peter has lost in a front fortnight. I'm sorry to say that Peter was not very well during the evening. His mother put him in bed and made some chamomile tea, and she gave a dose of it to Peter, 1 tablespoonful, to be taken in bedtime. But Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail had bread and milk and blackberries for supper.